Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. This is Alliance Attractors. It's Freedom Friday. We're always excited to see you here, same time, same place, every single week. It's the moment when we focus a little bit on growth and attraction. Today's a very special day because we've got a very special speaker. We've got Susan McClain. She's going to be joining us today, and she's 20 plus years in the business, coach, a trainer. She was a managing broker. She brought a struggling office to what, top 20 in the country. She did franchise sales. She was VP of sales for a major franchise. She brought them to like number 6 in the world. One of the reasons why EXP is so amazing is because they find the best people for us to work with. And Susan McClain's definitely one of them. And right now, she's the VP of Agent Success, focuses on engagement culture and loyalty. My most recent interaction with Susan she taught me in Team Leader Academy, which she just started, and it's an absolutely amazing program that focuses on the EOS principles. I hope you have some time to talk about that today, Susan. And she's also just hit her 3rd anniversary at EXP, if I'm correct. So
Someone
happy
said
work.
that the other day. I didn't know that.
Well, it's on workplace, and
Yeah.
someone pointed
Thank
that
you.
out to me as well. Rebecca pointed that out. So happy work anniversary. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome Susan. Thank you, Susan, for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today, everyone. So, by the way, Vincent, how long do I have? Do we have like till the top of the hour?
Yeah, we usually take about
Okay.
45 minutes and open it
Yep.
up for some interaction.
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to make sure you weren't like, oh no, there's 3 people behind you. So, all right, well, good. Good to see everyone today. Susan McClain, as Vincent said, very excited to talk today, and I'm going to share my screen here to talk today about, we're actually going to hit on 3 different things. So we're going to hit on attraction, we're going to hit on productivity, and we're going to hit on retention within your organization. So, what good is attraction if our agents aren't producing? Not very good, right? And if our agents aren't producing, or if they are producing and they leave us, what does it matter, right? So we really have to have all 3 of these to make sure that we have an effective organization within EXP. So I'd like you to guys all to do something for me. We're going to cover, if we're going to hit, and let me get the agenda up here. By the way, I'm using Gamma for my slides, and I haven't used Gamma in a while because it used to be a little wonky, but I've heard it's better. So far it looks like they're going well, right? But if my slides look a little wonky or something, it's because of Gamma, right? It's not me. It's never my fault. Okay, but if we're going to talk about 3 things today, we're going to talk about attraction, productivity, retention. That means we're going to cover quite a bit today. And I'd like you guys all to do something for me. Just pick out one thing that we talk about today that you can start doing, revisit, right? Kind of revisit, am I doing it the best that I can? Or just get better at it, right? Because there are all these things that are flying at us in our business, selling, attraction, right? Trying to bring people on, trying to get them productive, trying to retain them. So I just want you to choose something that you can start, revise, or just do a little bit better maybe than we have. Sound good? Can you pinky promise? Pinky promise. Okay, and I'm going to give you a little hint. Remember when we were like in college or high school and the professor would say, so you're going to be tested over this, right? And you're always like, oh, good. Thank you for telling me. You're going to be tested over this. At the end of this today, I'm going to ask you, what's your one thing that you're going to start doing or do better, right? Okay, so attraction, we're going to talk about today. What's your path? What's your strategy for attraction? Productivity, what are the systems that you use to help get your agents into productivity? And then retention. Do you know the red flags? What do we do if we get that little sinking feeling in the pit of our stomach that, you know what, I don't think this agent's really happy or they're upset about this thing that happened. So what do we do when those things happen? So that's our agenda. Let's see if my slides will work here. Okay, there we go. Phew. Okay, so I've got a question for you. If you stopped recruiting today, would your business still grow? It's a hard one, right? That's a hard one. And most of us, if you said, oh, gosh, if I just stopped doing anything with attraction, most of us would likely say, no, our business probably wouldn't grow, right? So I have a lot of agents that I talk to, and they are solely focused on the attraction side of the business. So all they're concerned about, all of their time, like 100% of their time, is spent getting agents into the organization, getting agents onto their team. But they're not spending any time on getting them productive, helping to retain them. So to have a holistic business, you have to be focused on all three things, right? The attraction, the productivity, and the retention. So we're going to start with attraction today. And one of the best people I've ever heard speak about attraction was Curtis Johnson. And this was, well, it was right after I started, actually. So it was probably 3 years ago. Thank you, Vincent, for letting me know it's my 3 year anniversary. But it was probably right at 3 years ago. And he said, don't try to grow an organization, right? Don't come in and say, I'm going to be this. He said, just get to the next step. That's all you have to focus on is where am I and what's the next step? And so set smaller goals. And now these aren't tiny goals, and I'm going to go through these here in just a second. But I have met with agents and they're like, I just joined EXP and I've heard about these things called alphas and I want to be one. And I'm like, that's fantastic. But we're going to start here, right? We can get you to alpha, but we're going to start here. So 10-year goals, 3 year goals, 1 year goals, and quarterly goals. And that's Vincent, that sounds familiar, right? It's from EOS, right? It's part of our vision traction organizer that we go through in EOS. EOS is the entrepreneur operating system. So I'm going to touch on a couple things that EOS teaches that you can implement into running your organization. So have a 10-year goal for your organization. In 10 years, what do you want your organization to look like? In 3 years, what do you want it to look like? 1 year, and then quarterly. But it really starts with step one is defining where you are. And you might be like, Susan, I don't fit in any of these. It's all good. But we're going to kind of talk through the different phases and the things to be focused on based on where you are in your organization. So step one, define where you are. So if you have 1 to 5 frontline agents, if that's where you're at in your organization right now, we should be focused on the who, the what, and the how. And by the way, as you're looking at where are you, I want you to look at where are you, but I also want you to think about those agents in your organization, those builders, those leaders, right? The people that are growing an organization with you, under you, and think about where they are too. So 1 to 5 FLAs, we're focused on the who, what, and how. So the who, that's your ideal agent avatar. Where do they work now? Where are they in their business, right? Are they brand new in real estate? Are they a top producer? Are they a team leader? Are they a brokerage? So where are they in the business? What are they doing every day? How are they spending their time, right? And by the way, I learned the hard way running a brokerage that you don't want bodies, right? This is extremely important to understand and really target your ideal agent avatar. I started growing a brokerage with bodies. I just wanted a certain number of agents, right? That's all I cared about. And what I attracted was bodies. And I got the unproductive agents, the agents who are always concerned or upset about something, the ones who weren't bought into our culture and what we were creating. So you don't want bodies. I want you to take a really deep look at your ideal agent avatar and say, where do I find agents like this? How do I target them? How do I reach them? How do I get them from A to B in that ideal agent avatar, right? Like what they're trying to achieve. And then I also want you to look at your core values in your organization. So what are those core values? By the way, do you have them, right? We all should have these core values within the organization. What are the things that set you apart? What are the things that you offer? What are the resources, the training, right? The checklist, the business plans. It could just be proximity, right? Think about the agents on this call, the agents above you and below you in your upline and your downline. It could just be, you know what? I give proximity to some of the most amazing people I've ever met, right? Business owners, leaders, team leaders, attractors, right? So look at proximity too, but just determine what do you offer and kind of, again, ideal agent avatar, what do you offer and determine what you need to get better at. So personally, I like a one pager. For me, looking at my core values, my ideal agent avatar, what I think they need, and the things that I offer someone, I love to put this on like a one page piece of paper, right? This one pager of here are the things that set me apart as a leader, as an organization leader, as a team leader. And when you put this one pager together, it can be extremely beneficial, extremely powerful to say, this is what I do, and this is how I'm different than everyone else. When I first started, and I'll tell you the power of, for me anyway, the power of using this one pager. So, Vincent, you've heard this story before, so sorry. But when I first started recruiting for this tiny little office that I took over in 2009, I had 12 agents, literally, I had 12 agents. And I knew I needed to grow it, right? But I hated recruiting. I despised it. I avoided it. I didn't call the agents. I never did anything with it. And one day I'm like, okay, I really just have to get over this, right? So I wanted to figure out what my fear was and why I was avoiding picking up the phone and making the calls. So I wrote down, I did this exercise called the 5 levels deep exercise. And so I wrote down, I said, all right, why do I hate recruiting? Like, what do I hate about it? And I wrote the answer, picking up the phone. Like, I hate picking up the phone. All right, great. Why does that scare me? Well, it scares me because I think they're going to answer, right? If I call them, they might answer the phone. All right, what scares me about that? If they answer, they might want to meet with me. Okay, what scares me about that? If they meet with me, they might want to come to work for me. And for me, that was this big aha because I thought the whole time, I thought I was avoiding recruiting and picking up the phone and calling those experienced agents because I thought I was afraid of rejection. That actually, what I was afraid of is they would say, oh, yeah, you know what, Susan, I think you can help me grow my business. I am going to come work for you. And what if I couldn't? What if I wasn't good enough to help them grow their business and get from A to B, right? So when I identified my fear, for me, what I did, and this is the power of the one pager, right? For me, what I did is I put everything onto one piece of paper and I said, all right, what are the things that I do? My office, my staff does, the company does. Like, what do we do to help an agent get from A to B? And when I listed it on a piece of paper, for me, that was very freeing. And I said, okay, you know what? If someone doesn't take advantage of all of these things on this piece of paper, that's on them. That's now not on me. And when I had that realization, that one pager, it helped me take that little struggling office of 12 agents and turn it into the number 20 office in the country, right? So take the power of a page, right? Like that one page. So define the who, define the what, and then the how. The how is how you're going to get there, right? Are you going to make 5 calls a day? Are you going to have 1 lunch a week? Are you going to have 10 follow-ups? Are you going to do social media posts? Are you going to do YouTube videos, right? So how are you going to move your business forward to that next stage? And then the next step is once you have 5 FLAs, we're going to get to 3 or more agents with 1 or more frontline agent each, right? So now we're going to build the depth. And this again is something I see agents, they're focused on the width, they're not focused on the depth, right? So we're going to get 3 agents with 1 FLA or more in our organization. Identify who your builders are, who those leaders are, or who you think they're going to be, and put your time and energy into those agents. Help them communicate differently with them than you do everyone else in your organization. If you talk to everyone, you're talking to no one, right? So we can't talk to everyone because then everyone tunes out our message. So identify who those organization leaders are and speak to them differently. And I'll give you some examples here in a few minutes. So the path from 5 to 10 frontline agents, we're going to redefine who, what, and how. Because when we have 1 or 2 frontline agents and we have 9 or 10 frontline agents, what we do is different. Who our ideal avatar is different, right? How we go about growing is different. So get that path from 5 to 10 FLAs, and then 100 or more in your organization. So who are your builders? Again, identify them in your organization. Make sure that you are pouring the time and the energy into them. And then path from 10 to 20 frontline agents. So that's the next step. So again, we're going to redefine the who, the what, and the how. And then 200 or more in your organization. We're going to look at those up and coming builders because they've likely changed from when you had, 3 frontline agents or 100 in your organization. So we're going to reevaluate who those up and coming builders are. So take a minute to look at this and think about what you can do for the first time or what you can revisit. So think about that. Write down the thing that you're going to revisit or maybe even look at for the first time. And maybe that's the one thing that you'll take from this. But as you're doing that, we're going to go into the next step. And so the next step is the revenue strategy. So are you tracking your revenue? And that's rev share, right? So when we're talking about an organization, this is rev share. But are you tracking your revenue per agent and per level? This is a business, right? It's a business we're running. So we need to know where we are and we need to know how we can move the needle. So one of the things that I would definitely suggest that you do is as you're growing your organization, look at your revenue per agent. And that's your average, right? What's the average revenue or rev share per agent? And what's my average revenue or rev share per level? And then where do we need to move the needle on that? And by the way, how many of you are kind of heavy on teams in your organization? Does anyone have quite a few teams in their organization? I see a couple faces. I don't see any hands. Well, if you do, or if you get there where you have quite a few teams in your organization, what I want you to do is just celebrate that fact because I will tell you that I've talked to agents and sometimes they're like, oh, I have so many teams in my organization. And those team members, they don't pay a $16,000 cap. Most of them, they're on a reduced cap. And so that means my rev share is lower. And I always tell them, actually, you're going to end up making more rev share on a team member typically than you are on an individual agent because our team members stay with us longer and typically they're more productive than our individual agents. So you look at the retention rate of a team or a team member, you're actually going to end up making more revenue on them than you are, and I'm talking about averages here, right? But then you are on an individual agent. So if you have a lot of teams or you end up attracting a lot of teams into your organization, that's actually a really good thing. So when we talk about tracking revenue per agent and per level and production per level, do you guys know where to find this information? Yeah, Vincent does. Yeah. Do the rest of you know where to find how to track this? Kevin says yes. Okay, so I'm scrolling through. So good. I'm going to show you here in a quick second, just a screenshot if you don't know where to find this. But it's really important that as a business leader, this is something that you do, I would say at least once a month, you're pulling your production. So we're going to track production per level, identify our productive levels, and then identify where we can improve. And then we're going to define our proven process. So we kind of talked about this a couple minutes ago, but your proven process, this is something that it could be your onboarding. It could be, hey, I can get an agent from A to Z, or A to B or whatever your ideal agent avatar is trying to get to. But we're going to identify whatever that proven process is. It could be your training. It could be your coaching. It could be your upline, right? Your upline can help people grow. Whatever that proven process is in your organization, I want you to map it out and I want you to make a visual of it, right? So this is something that when you're talking to an agent and you're saying, hey, come join me in my organization, you can say, this is what we do. This is how we onboard you. This is how we get you productive. Here, this is how we, get you from A to B. So define your proven process, that thing in your organization that you do better than anyone else, and you can prove it, right? Because you have a process for it. Make it a visual and then use that in your attraction efforts. And then I want you to identify your 3 uniques. So what are the things that make you and your organization unique? Again, we kind of touched on this a minute ago with the one pager, but I want you to find 3 things that make you unique. Now, one of the things, or one of the people, I guess, this is where we find organization reporting. So if you're not sure how to find your agents and how to download and get your revenue per level and your production per level, you're going to go into your My EXP account. You're going to click on organization. You're going to click on detail report. and then you're going to download it. And here's the thing, you have to download it. Yes, you can scroll through My EXP and you can see some information, but you're not seeing everything until you download it. And when you download this information on your organization, you can sort it and you can look at it from a different level, right? Okay, so when it comes to those three uniques and it comes to your proven process, one of the people that I've seen do this from the best level is Jay Kinder and Mike Reese. So they actually ended up starting a company. I believe it was a company. It was a certification. It was the National Association of Expert Advisors, I think is what it was. But what they did is they said they mapped it out, right? They said, here's our proven process, and here's what makes us unique, and we're going to put it into a graphic. And so, again, this is the power of being able to use a graphic. And they said, wherever you are, if you're a solopreneur or you're a grower or whatever, and you want to get to leader or visionary or master, we have a process to get you there. So this is one of the best examples I've seen of someone taking their proven process, taking those three uniques and putting it into a graph. So you don't have to make it like this. This is a lot. This is a lot of information, but just put it into that graph. Okay, I'm sure you guys all know, but we do have a growth toolkit. So if you're looking for some help, some guidance to grow your organization, we have the growth and attraction toolkit. I'm not going to go through it. I sent Vincent the link, so if you're not sure where to find all of this, you can find anything that I'm showing you in the slides that I sent Vincent. But all of our toolkits are in Okta. They're behind Okta. There's a tile that says EXP toolkits, and then they're also in My EXP under the knowledge base tab. If you go to My EXP, click on knowledge base, you'll see all of our toolkits or a link to all of our toolkits there. So that's the growth toolkit if you want some additional information or help on growing. Okay, that's attraction. Now let's talk about productivity. So productivity for me, it means opportunities, right? What are those opportunities and where can I help an agent get from A to Z? So do you have easy to follow systems for your agents? If I'm a new agent and Kevin, I come into your organization, do you have hey, here's what you should do, step 1, step 2, step 3? Kevin's like, yeah, I do, of course, yes. Hello, I'm Kevin Ma. Of course I have those systems, right? So have those easy to follow systems for agents. And I'll tell you, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can use what EXP already has. So we have live agent startup sessions. And if you're not familiar with these have been a game changer to get agents plugged in and understanding some of our tools. So our live agent startup sessions, they're going to go through Okta, right? What's Okta? Why do I care what Okta is? How do I get into Okta? They're going to go through Workplace, then soon to be replaced by Slack, right? They're going to go through My EXP, Enterprise, SkySlope, EXP World, I think KV Core, the Quick Start Guide. So these live agent startup sessions, this would be for every agent. So if you're not saying, hey, step 1 is to do your live agent startup sessions, make sure that you're adding that to your system to get agents onboarded and to get them productive. Because the more that they understand the tools and the resources, the more productive they're going to be. And then the agent essentials training. So the agent startup says, hey, here's what Workplace is and here's how to log in. Here's what My EXP is and here's how to log in. The agent essentials training goes deeper. So it's going to go into the lead sources at EXP. So super important, right? If they're coming here to grow their business, they need to understand all of the different lead sources. It's going to go through the CRM, SkySlope, and then how to get paid fast. If their files are done and everything looks good, they're going to get paid fast. So that's what Agent Essentials does. So those are the two trainings. So okay, step 1 is agent startup, step 2 is agent essentials, and then there's fast cap. So fast cap would be for any agent looking to improve production, right? And it can be a team leader, team member, individual agent. It doesn't matter. Send them to fast cap, right? High accountability training to increase their business. And we have a fast cap starting, I believe it's every 3 weeks now. And then if they're a team leader, we have Team Leader Academy for them. So based on where, again, who your ideal agent avatar is, where they're going, make sure that you have those systems for agents. By the way, did you guys know that we're creating, we have Fast Cap for production, right? We're also creating right now Fast Attract. Have you heard about Fast Attract? Gino says, yes, I have. So Fast Attract is going to be very similar to Fast Cap, but it's going to be for attraction, right? So that's something that we're actually creating right now with Brian Ellington. So that will launch this year, I think late Q2, early Q3. I think that's kind of the estimated time of arrival for that. So make sure that you have those systems in place. And then the EXP Value Explained slide deck. This is something that we actually just launched a few weeks ago, I think, and this is in the retention and sponsorship toolkit, but there is a separate link for this. Again, I'll show you where everything is. Vincent has the slides, but this EXP Value Explained toolkit, what we've done is we've taken our value proposition and we've divided it by avatar. Remember I said, know your ideal agent avatar, right? Are you really focused on getting team leaders into your organization? We have a team leader path for our EXP value, right? So if you have a team leader, they don't really care necessarily about some of the stuff for new agents, or new agents, they don't really care about stuff for teams or for attractors or for icons. New agents go, how do I get my first transaction, right? So this will take our value proposition and divide it by avatar. So you get them through those, the live startup, the agent essentials, and then you say, okay, what's the first thing that you should focus on? Here, let's go through this. And so this can, again, make it a little bit easier for the agents to say, what do I focus on now versus I have 500 things in front of me. What should I be doing? So use this, the Value Explained slide deck to kind of take all of the resources that we offer and chunk it down by what's most important to them now. Okay, agent productivity tracking. So there are a few things that I highly suggest that you track in your organization. So number one would be days on board. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for our rock stars. And our rock stars would be, they've been with EXP, let's 120 or 180 days or less, and they've already closed production. And I'll show you, I'll pull up a spreadsheet here in a second and I'll show you how to find those. But we're going to look for those rock stars, those new agents on board. And by the way, when you identify a rock star in your organization, so I came into Vincent's organization, I've been here 90 days, I've already had a closing, it was a $300,000 house. Vincent's going to go, gosh, Susan, welcome to EXP. You're doing amazing things. I love it. I'm here to help, right? How can I help you when get to A to Z? But then Vincent's also going to say, by the way, is agent attraction something that that's on your radar? Is that one of the reasons that you came to EXP? And when I say yes, right, everyone thinks that they're going to attract. Not everyone does, but a lot of them think that they are. When I say yes, Vincent's going to go, you know what, this is the best time right now to attract into your organization. Because if I just made a move to EXP, you guys know how it is in a local market. If someone moves brokerages, everyone else knows, right? If I move my business from ABC Realty to EXP, everyone knows, right? I put it all over social media and I'm so happy. And we do all these videos. But then everyone else in my market knows that I moved. And here's the deal, I'm already closing transactions. It is the absolute best time for me to attract other agents to the company because I am social proof that EXP works. So find those rock stars, ask them if agent attraction is something that they're looking to do in their business. If it is, say now is a great time for you to do it. Here, let me help you. Here's what we should do. So look for your rock stars production metrics. So we're going to look for those top performers and we're going to celebrate them. We're also going to look for any agents who might be buy side heavy, and we're going to ask them to go through Fast Cap. One of the best ways that we can get an agent into Fast Cap, because again, these agents in your organization, they're not your team members, they don't work for you, they're just in your organization, right? So we have to kind of be a little careful with our verbiage. We can't say, hey, Vincent, I see you haven't closed anything in 120 days. boy, you should really get something under your belt, right? So we have to say, hey, Vincent, we've got this newish training program called FastCap. Have you heard about it? Oh yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Well, actually, you know what? If you could go through it and audit it for me, that would mean the world to me. So I'd really love your perspective on FastCap. I mean, I trust your judgment. And if you go through it and you say it's great, great, I'll promote it to others. If you go through it and you have some concerns, please let me know, right? So would you mind auditing FastCap for me and just give me your feedback? They're much more likely to go through FastCap or anything that you send them to. And this could, again, this could be a training in your organization. I'm just using FastCap as an example, but they're much more likely to go through it if you say, hey, would you audit that? Versus, hey, Vincent, what are you doing? Like, man, you haven't closed anything in 6 months. Okay, so look for agents that are buy side heavy. And then mentor program status. And you guys, here's a stat, and hardly anyone knows this because it's a company stat. But I'll tell you, once an agent graduates from the mentor program, and so we're talking about individual agents, right? Once an agent graduates from the mentor program, they're 3 times more likely to leave EXP. So we hardly lose any mentees. We have very few agents who are in the mentor program who leave EXP. But once they graduate and they don't have that person, right? They've only done 3 transactions and they feel like they're on an island, right? They've lost their special person. They've lost that person to make the phone call to. So track the agents who are no longer in the mentor program. And I'll show you how to do this in a second because they are 3 times more likely to leave. So get them plugged into other resources. Help them find a buddy. Make sure that they're attending trainings, phone calls, whatever it might be. Get them plugged in so that they don't leave. And then we're looking for our team leaders and our growers. And we're going to talk to them differently. If you're a team leader or you're a grower, right? You're growing an organization. In my organization, I'm going to treat you like a business owner because you are. I'm going to send you podcasts and business books and ideas, and I'm going to ask your opinion. If they're not a team leader or they're not growing their business, I'm going to speak to them differently, right? Yes, they're a business owner if they're selling real estate, but not at the level, from a leadership level that a team leader or an organization leader is. So identify them, speak to them differently, send them different things. Okay, so I downloaded, well, I kind of downloaded, then I changed it. This is a fake MyEXP download, okay? So obviously you can see like Snoopy and, I got some presidents in here. I went to ChatGPT, by the way, and I'm like, hey, give me 150 names of cartoons and presidents. And what did we do before AI? Like, seriously, it's so crazy. Okay, so I downloaded a spreadsheet from MyEXP, right? So I went to where I showed you before, organization, detailed report, download. And this is what it gives me. So I'm going to look at all of let me move our little faces here. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to look at all of my agents. I'm going to look at group size, right? So how large is their revenue share group? We talked about mentors. Before I go there. So we talked about talking to your leaders a little differently, right? So we have our rev share group size here so we can see how many agents. And then our team leaders. Where is that? See, there's so much information here. Okay, so our team leader. So agent is a team lead. So we can go in here and we can just sort by true, right? So I'm going to speak to these groups differently. This is how I'm going to identify those groups. And then we talked about an agent graduates from the mentor program and they're 3 times more likely to leave, right? So I want you to go in here and I want you to do this once a month. All you have to do, 30 minutes once a month. Can you give 30 minutes once a month to your business to increase productivity and retention? Here's where you say yes. Nod your head and say yes, Susan. 30 minutes once a month. Okay, so go in here once a month, download this, and look for the agents who are in the mentor program. And then next month, you're going to do the same. And if you have fewer agents in the mentor program, I'm going to say, okay, who graduated? That's all you have to do. And so this, again, when they graduate, you're going to reach out to them and say, hey, you know what? Congratulations, Ben. You've graduated from the mentor program. I'm so excited. Do you know what the next step is? Let me get you plugged into this or that, right? Okay, so, oh, by the way, this will also tell you who's in referral, our referral division. If you have any commercial agents, it will tell you that too. So I'm going to speak to my referral agents and my commercial agents different than I am the residential agents, right? They're focused on different things. Okay, days on board. So this is where we can say, all right, how many days have you been on board? And are you closing transactions? Oh, look, we got two people right here that have been on board less than 180 days. We talked about rock stars earlier, right? These are our rock stars. So we're going to reach out to them and we're going to say, hey, Courage the Cowardly Dog, congratulations. You've been with EXP just, 4 months now and you've already had closings. This is so cool. By the way, is agent attraction something that you were looking at adding to your business plan? Well, let me tell you, now's the best time for you to do that. And let me tell you why. So we're going to look for our rock stars. Buyer units over seller units. So we're going to look for those agents who are buyer heavy, right? We can also celebrate transactions. We can look at last transaction date. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, who had a closing last month? Ooh, congrats, everyone. You guys did great. Who hasn't had a closing in 90 days or longer? Hey, by the way, have you heard about Fast Cap? It's kind of our new-ish, productivity training. Would you mind going and auditing that for me? I'd love to get your feedback on that, right? So they haven't had a closing in 120 days or longer. Maybe they've never had a closing, right? We get this list down here. They've never had a closing. Okay, so we talked about team leaders, icons. I'd separate icons too, right? Any of your icons, I'm going to talk to them a little bit differently too. Those are our highest producers. So I'm going to talk to them differently than I am an agent that hasn't had a closing in 120 days or maybe never, right? Okay, so makes sense how you can download and start to look at your organization a little bit differently. Okay, I hope so because I'm moving on. Any questions, by the way? I just keep talking. Any questions so far?
Uh, Susan, can you give us the top three things? It's really amazing how much information you could pull from that download. And you doing that just reminds me of how much of a Excel guru you are, because I remember you used to do that for the alphas and the betas.
I did, yes.
But if there were just three things for us to pull from this, huge
Mhm.
Excel file, what are the top three?
So number one would be new rock stars, right? On
Mhm.
board, let's say a less than 180 days and they've already had closings. That's hands down the number one thing. Reach out to them, welcome them if you haven't already, or check in with them if you haven't checked in with them in a while. And then talk about attraction if that's part of their business plan. If they say no, don't force it on them though, right? So that's number one. Number two would be just talking to the segments of your organization in a different manner, right? So your individual agents, your team leaders, your icons, just separate where they're at in their business. And anyone who's, I would say, an icon, team leader, or grower, talk to them about business, right? And it's very simple of sending them, hey, here's a really cool business book I read. Here's a podcast I listened to. Hey, what are you doing now based on where the market is, right? Just talk to them as a business owner. So that's number two. And then the last thing I think would be getting your new agents plugged in. And so again, we've got how many days on board. So if we're looking at those agents who just join us, we're plugging them in. Welcome to EXP. Do you have any questions? Can we help you? Here's your next step. Your fast start and your fast cap and whatever we talked about earlier. Those are three things.
Awesome.
Sounded like more, but I promise it was three. Okay, I'm not watching chat, by the way, so I see like the number going up. But if you guys have any questions, I would say, oh, thanks, Rebecca. That's awesome. She paraphrased me. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, we're mostly done. Any other questions before I go forward from here? Okay. So then retention red flag. So now we're on the last one, right? So retention. So we're looking at, and again, these are some of the things that you can look at in that spreadsheet I showed you. 90 days, no business, or 120 or whatever, right? But just pick a date and say, okay, they haven't had any business. I'm going to try to get them into fast cap. We know if we can get an agent to close 4 transactions a year, they're much more likely to stay, about 90% more likely to stay. And that's an industry stat, right? If you can close 4 transactions or more, you're 90% more likely to stay at your company. So getting them into fast cap. This one takes a little more work. So if you have an assistant or a TC or someone that you can kind of, maybe not TC, but someone that you can hand this off to, or you have a smaller organization, you can look at year over year or quarter over quarter. So if you start downloading your organization from My EXP, like I showed you, and you're looking at, all right, this time last year, what was Bob doing? Oh my gosh, Bob doubled his business. How cool, right? But you have to download it and be able to kind of look at that quarter over quarter or year over year. Now, I was told yesterday that in My EXP right now, when you go in and you download your organization, you're seeing full year 2024 and year to date 2025. Here in the next, I think it's like week or a few days, that's going to change. You're just going to see 2025 year to date, but you can use the filters to go back to see 2024. So there is a way, and I'm hoping, I asked them to add 2023 data in there too. So there is a way to be able to go look year over year, but if you start downloading this once a month, it's going to be a little easier. And then individual agents with low production. We lose individual agents at a much higher level or rate than we lose our teams and our team members. So we hardly lose any teams. I mean, we truly do. It's very, very tiny. We lose mostly individual agents. So plug those individual agents into the things that you're doing. And then recognition, just if there's any kind of like, hey, anyone that, closed a transaction last month, we're going to give you a social media shout out. I mean, just anything like that. We're going to have a listing contest. And, again, you can't license law, right? Follow license law. And the only person that can compensate an agent is their broker. But, I'm going to send you a trophy. I mean, just, little things, right? Milestone celebrations, first transaction, their anniversary, they capped. Constantly communicate the value and the benefits. And this is something I learned a long time ago. When you get tired of saying something is when someone starts to hear it. When you get tired of saying something is when they start to hear it, right? And so it took me a long time to learn that. I thought if I said it once, my agents got it. No, when I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to beat my head against a wall if I have to say this one more time, that's when they started to finally hear it. So make sure that that's something that's your mantra, right? And then find and develop those leaders in your organization, and that helps with retention too. Okay, bonus, and then we're done. So money left on the table. This was an exercise I did, and I did it as a brokerage, right? And I had access at that point, obviously, to their commission rate. You guys don't as leaders unless you're a team leader. But one of the most powerful exercises I did is I gave my agents at the end of the year a fake check for all the money that they left on the table that year. So, and I had a gold standard, right, for commission, right? And this was, oh my gosh, back in like 2010 or 11 probably. But my gold standard was 3.5%. If you can get 3.5% commission on a transaction, like that's the gold standard. And so I calculated what their commission was during the year and what the difference was to 3.5%. And I gave them all a fake check. And so when some of them saw that $75,000, $90,000, $50,000 check, they were like, oh my gosh, I literally left that much money on the table last year because one transaction at a time, 0.5%, 0.25%, right? But it adds up. Now you're not going to have access to their commission, but ask them to do this. And I would say at the end of Q1 is a good time because they don't have a million transactions yet, right? So say bring your total commission that you've earned this year to date, to our next meeting. And then have them calculate the difference to whatever their gold standard commission is, right? And have them see the money that they've left on the table this quarter. And if you do that, it's a very powerful exercise with them. And again, increasing productivity, right? This is all increasing productivity. In My EXP, you can see what your organization per person productivity is, your PPP. Focus on that and try to increase that PPP. We talked earlier about dividing your organization by level and production, right? Focus on how do I increase my organization PPP? And when you get it, I would say above 6 to 7, you're higher than industry average, and start marketing that, start promoting that. The agents in my organization, right? Our organization, our PPP is 9. You know, that's 35% above industry standard, right? Industry average. Our agents are so productive. Do you want to be around us? Proximity's power. And then organization retention. So in your MyEXP download, you can see how many agents are offboarding. Look at that percent. What percent of your agents are offboarding? Now, remember, that's the last 180 days, right? So don't freak out when you see it. That's 6 months. But look at that organization retention. And again, implement at least one thing that we talked about today to help retention. Okay, the last thing is the sponsorship and retention toolkit. So I'm not going to go through this. The links in the slides. Again, I showed you where to find all of the toolkits earlier. But if you need help with retention, at the bottom of this toolkit, there's this link that says Get Started. And so you can click this link. We will help you create a personalized retention plan for your team or your organization. Or if you know someone that you think might be at risk of leaving, send that to us and we'll work with them to try to save them. Okay, whew, that's all I got.
Susan, what
Stop
does
my
a
screen share.
personalized retention plan look like?
So it looks a lot like the stuff we went through, right? So going in and we'll download your organization. We'll start sorting, color coding, right? Start highlighting those agents that might be at risk. We'll talk to you about, hey, who isn't showing up anymore? Who used to show up and now isn't showing up? Okay, do you have spidey senses about anyone in your organization? Who might that be? What can you do differently in your organization to plug your agents in to get them productive, right? So it's a lot of the stuff that we talked about today, only personalized for you.
Amazing. Anybody have any questions for Susan?
I'm going through chat. Thank you, Eli. I'm glad you
Will
liked it.
this, sorry,
Uh-huh.
will this, I apologize. Will this be recorded and put into the workplace?
It'll be recorded. I'm not sure where it goes. I think it might go into Global Alliance University.
Okay.
Any
Anything else?
questions,
And we'll put the
comments?
slides in there as well.
How do we connect an agent with you who we fear might be leaving or needs support? So Eli, it's 2 ways. So number one, that link at the bottom of this retention and sponsorship toolkit that I just showed you, that's going to go right to my team and I. Or you can always send me a message on Workplace. If you send me a message on Workplace, it's just me that's going to get it. So it might take me just a tad bit longer, depending on how my day is. But you can do a Workplace, or you can, and I'll pull the link actually from the slides and I'll put it in here. Or you can use this toolkit. Let me copy the link. And then I'll put it in chat. The bottom of the toolkit has that link. Okay, good question. Any other questions that you guys have? Comments? Can I help you with anything?
How about talk a little bit about Team Leader Academy?
Oh, yeah, Team Leader Academy. So Team Leader Academy, we launched it in beta in January. We had like 10 agents, 10 team leaders that went through it. We made some changes to it based on their feedback, and then we launched the first official cohort in February. And so we had 41 team leaders that went through it. And by the way, I was pretty happy because my goal was 40. But we had a very short turnaround time between the end of the beta and the launch of the first cohort. So we have 41 team leaders that went through it. And so what we do is we teach you how to run your team on EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System. So it teaches vision alignment, accountability within your team, and not accountability in a negative way. It's accountability where everyone has a number and everyone knows who's rowing in the same direction and who might need more help or guidance. Teaches you systems, processes, just an accountability framework. So we teach them how to run their business on EOS. We also do a session on attracting agents to your team, and then a session on retaining agents. So some of the stuff I went through today, but most of it's kind of different. So those are the 6 sessions before graduating. And then after graduation, we have ongoing classes that we'll have roughly once a week. Those are optional classes you can attend, but you don't have to, up to you. You'll get different like benefits and discounts. So we've got several discounts that we've negotiated, Corded, Blended Sense, Sisu. Feel like there's one more. They get a free unlicensed transaction coordinator, like TC account from EXP. Growth assistance. That's the other thing. So growth assistance, those qualifying teams who go through TLA, if they're wanting to grow their team, my team will come in and say, okay, what are you looking for? Where do you do business? And then we'll look for EXP agents who are underproducing or not producing, and then try to add them to your team, right? Connect them to that team leader so that those teams can grow. And one of the best or one of the main reasons that we started Team Leader Academy was for retention, right? Those individual agents who are underproducing. And again, we know we lose them at a higher rate. So that's one of the big reasons we started TLA, is to help those agents find a team that can help them grow, and then help our team leaders too.
It's such an amazing class, and just the fact that you get continued training after you graduate is incredible.
Yeah, thank you. It's been it's been a project, but so worth it. So worth it. But yeah,
I believe that Gil is putting together a group where he's going to invite you in. We're going to talk specifically about Team Leader Academy, so keep an eye out for that. Any last thing for Susan from anyone?
Thank you for having me, you guys.
All right,
you guys
Susan,
can find me on Workplace if you need anything.
We appreciate you so much.
I appreciate
All
you
right,
guys.
take care, everyone.
All
Enjoy
right,
your
bye.
Friday.